Meeting of the Board of Trustees. First item on our agenda tonight is the invocation and pledge of allegiance from students of Brooklyn Casey High School. Mr. Peter.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to welcome two students tonight from Brooklyn Casey High School. First, we got Ben Welch, who's going to be doing the invocation. Ben is a senior at Brooklyn Casey High School, where he is a member of the National Honor Society. He also enjoys swimming and playing tennis for BC. He is a member of Mount Hebron United Methodist Church and a member of Boy Scout Troop 331. Next year, Ben would like to major in mechanical engineering at Clemson University. Also, we have Brianna Flanagan. Brianna will be doing the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. And Brianna is a senior at Brooklyn Casey High School, where she participates on student council and serves as the activities director. She is a 6-year starter on the varsity softball team, and she was also a member of the varsity swim team. After high school, Brianna plans to attend the University of South Carolina and major in nursing. Thank y'all for being in Brianna.
Mayor, I'm Ben Welch. I'll be doing the invocation. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, we lift up our concerns to you. We pray that you help guide our decisions and preside over this meeting. In this season of Thanksgiving, we remember to thank you for all you've blessed us with. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Without objection, it will stand approved as presented. We move to public participation period. We have no one. So next will be reports on honors and accomplishments of students and staff. And the first thing I'm going to mention is Ms. Branham says her regrets tonight. She's on business with the National School Board Association, where she is the president. So obviously that takes precedent over our own school board. So she's taking care of that, and so she sends her regrets. But we couldn't change the meeting because we were honoring the Teacher of the Year this year. So. And it had already been scheduled for tonight, so we couldn't rearrange our schedule to accommodate hers. So just wanted to make that known. So with that, I'll move on to the next items of reports on honors and accomplishments.
Thanks, sir. We have an award for, actually it's tied to the National School Board Association. Kayla.
Kayla, you're calling you?
Kayla Esl is a 7th grade student at Busby Creative Arts Academy, and this recognition, she has been named as the winner of the National School Board Association 2019 Holiday Gift Card. She designed the cover of the card that we sent out all across the country. Congratulations to you, Ben, for your tie. This is on behalf of the board. Thank you very much. One other event that is not of national prominence, but today is Mr. Crock's birthday. So happy birthday. We have a board meeting in your honor.
So we need a motion to put that on the record. All right. Next up is unfinished business, and we have no unfinished business, so we move to new business. First item on the agenda is election of officers of the Board of Trustees. I'll turn it over to Dr. James for that.
Yes, sir. I will take nominations for recommendations, motions for the school board officers.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. I'd like to make a motion that the officers remain the same for the next year, with Mr. Bill Bingham, chairman, Mr. Kevin Key, vice chairman, and Mrs. Christina Rucker, secretary.
And that is in the form of a motion. Do I have a second?
Have a second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. Mr. Bingham,
Thank you.
there's your gavel.
All right, let's move to the next item on the agenda, consideration of the date change for February and April 2021 meetings.
Yes, sir. We would recommend, the administration would recommend that the board reschedule the February meeting from February 20 to February 13, and the April meeting from April 16 to April 23. The rationale behind that is the February 20th meeting would fall in the same time frame as the South Carolina School Boards Association Annual Convention, and the April meeting would be the week right after spring break, so allowing the administration to gather all the information and get it to the board in a timely fashion to make it difficult. Okay, so our recommendation would be that the board would allow us to change those dates.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation to reschedule the monthly board meetings from February 20th, to February 20th, from February 13th. If I got that wrong.
Turn around.
Turn around. From February 20th to February 13th, and the April meeting from April 16th to April 23rd.
Okay, we have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kester. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is consideration of clay sports team at Lexington 2 Innovation Center.
Yes, sir. I've got a group of young fellows that are sitting there about 3 rows deep on our left-hand side. I spoke with them last week. I talked to Mrs. Coleman about a month or so ago. These guys have come together. They're equally divided between Brooklyn Casey High School and Airport High School. What they would like to do is begin a scholastic clay shooting team out of the Innovation Center. I put some information in there about how South Carolina DNR runs that. Mrs. Coleman has endorsed this. I've talked to DNR, as a matter of fact, had gone and do some research and found out that there are this many colleges and universities that give kids scholarships for shooting sports. I don't think it's any surprise to the board that I would support a sporting clay team. This group of young fellows, I found out a little bit about them. They shoot now. The difference would be that DNR would supervise them, and they would be able to compete against other schools across the state. My recommendation is that the board allow them to do this as a district team. The guys are here, they know that they've been prepped. You may want to ask them some questions if you have questions for me, but I think it's a good opportunity, and that's a fine group of young fellows right there. And now they all sitting there going, what are they going to ask?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation and approve the scholastic clay shooting sports team at Lexington 2 Innovation Center.
Motion, do I have a second? Second by Mr. King. All right, discussion and question.
Where does this take place? Where do you shoot?
If I may, Dr.
Go
Davis?
ahead, Chief.
We're going to, on the number 6 and 302, Palmetto Firearms on a sport and clay range that they run and supervise through DNR as well. And competitions will be held down at the Indigo Club, pretty good bit, which the game department owns and runs and supervises. I'll be their coach. And that's where we would practice at, would be that facility, with the rules and the regs that of course the school board sets forth, and also with the regulations and the rules that the game department sets forth. And
The sporting clays course that Chief's talking about is it's the home course to 2 or 3 of the schools in the Midlands that shoot sporting clays, but it's a whole different world than just shooting trap birds out in your backyard. It's well managed, well supervised, and it's high quality endeavor.
yes,
other questions? I have one with regard to insurance. Is it the same as athletics, or how does that work?
I'm
From a
assuming,
district standpoint, and is there any issue with them having insurance in this kind of endeavor?
I haven't run into anybody that has had an issue with it out of the schools, and they're public schools and private schools that are involved in this now. I'm sure Marty's gonna have to make our insurance company aware that we've added this on, but it'll be, as I understand it, it'll be somewhat similar to athletics, and DNR will also carry insurance because they provide the matches. They actually set up, since it's not governed by the high school league, it's governed by South Carolina DNR. And so they'll have the Lexington 2 team shoots against whatever other team. They set that up and run the whole thing. And then each course that they would go to would be a legitimate sporting clays course. And there's a standard for that. So I don't think, Mr. Bingham, that there's going to be, I have not talked to anybody that has said there has been a problem with it, but I do feel sure that we'll have to make our insurance company aware that that's happening.
Does the insurance we have for athletics, does it come through the School Board Association, or is it a separate? It's a separate company altogether.
Right.
So it would be the same company, I'm assuming, that would,
Yeah.
this is a team, it's just,
Right.
it's not football or baseball, it's shooting. Okay. Any other questions? All right, being none, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
To your team, guys, you're welcome to stay or go.
Tell them thank you at least.
Thank y'all.
All right, next on the agenda is consideration of local board-approved courses.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. James, even though it's November, we're already talking about scheduling for next school year and trying to put together courses. And so as state regulation requires, when the state doesn't provide course numbers for courses that the high schools feel like they need for their programs, the local board does have the responsibility for approving those courses. So tonight, the courses that I bring for you to be added to our course catalogs for local board approval is beginner band, strength and conditioning 1, 2, and 3, theater, technical theater arts 2, theater 5, yearbook production 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So tonight I'd like to ask for first and second reading and approval of those courses. Be glad to answer any questions if you have.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the administration's recommendation of the courses as presented. Do I need to?
You are making a motion to approve first and second?
Second reading of the courses as presented.
Okay, do I have a second? No, second. Second by Mr. Key. Any discussion? Ms. Kessler?
We've been discussing academics and our need and stress to improve academics. And it seems like to me we really have extended the academics to athletics during the school day or band during the school day. And I don't want us to get to the point where a child is taking these courses and you know it's going to be, for example, I can speak of weightlifting because I taught it. You're going to have the same kids in there all the time, so that means that 50% of their education is going to be in courses that do not contribute to them academically. And I'm a little bit fearful for that for their sake. I don't really oppose offering the classes, I just think it's going to be abused. And that's my fear.
Well, hopefully, we're moving away from that, and quite honestly, a lot of these courses have been taught in the past. The fact that we have both schools on 8-period schedules gives kids an opportunity to get a core number of academic courses and some of the others. But I'll be honest with you, Ms. Butler, I think, I spent time in that PE realm, and a lot of other people did. I don't think we need kids having 2 and 3 PE classes at the expense of academics. And so,
When I was teaching, students would get into their 11th grade year and have tried to get their academics completed, but they were so far behind in academics that they couldn't make up what they had lost because they had not taken actual courses from the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. So some of them had to come for summer school or come an extra year.
hopefully, we're going to get further in the board meeting. We're going to have to resolve a little bit of that. I have met on a fairly regular basis with the 2 high school principals in Dixon, and we're looking more and more at the district-wide dashboard that is individual kids. And we've got both principals, they have their folks that are pulling individual kids and looking at them kid by kid. So it's been heard loud and clear that this board expects focus, a sincere focus on the improvement of academics. And I honestly believe that we're headed that way, and I think when Dixon does his presentation, hopefully that'll relieve some of the concern.
Other questions? Is there a limit to, like, how many of these somebody can take in a year or at the same time? I mean, I know whenever I was in school, okay, everybody had a study hall. So instead of study hall, you maybe going to take a strength and conditioning, or maybe you take drama or whatever. But I would assume that there's something in place that prevents kids from saying, well, I'm going to take strength and conditioning, and I'm going to have advanced volleyball, and second semester I'm going to 2 PEs and that kind of thing, that they're just not allowed to do that.
Right. Every year they have to have a certain number of credits to promote to the next grade, and that requires an English and a math every year, and sometimes the science, those kind of things. But yes, they have to have 24 credits that are required by law to get the high school diploma. And of course, with our schedule, like Dr. James mentioned, our kids have an opportunity, if they're staying on track, to really earn 8 additional credits.
But technically, Mr. Bingham, what you just said is reality. You will have a kid that's in weightlifting and advanced volleyball or baseball or what's like that. You will have them in 2 of those this semester. You've always had them, and it's always been a problem.
All right, any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consideration of the Airport High School 700 wing roofing project.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have been working with our roofing consultant to try to make sure that we finish off the 700 wing at Airport High School that was damaged by fire a few years ago. And the culminating project of that will be to put a roof on there that will hopefully last 20+ years. So we would like to ask that you approve and award a contract to Contract Construction in the amount of $656,985.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation to award the contract to Contract Construction in the amount of $656,985 for Airport High School 700 wing roofing project.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Second by Mr. Keith. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consideration of real estate RFP recommendation.
Mr. Chair, we've sent out an RFP to try try to select a real estate agent, just in preparation for the possibility that if the board ever decides they want to sell or purchase property, we need to at least go through the procurement process to choose a representative or a representative company. And we have formed a committee to look at the proposals that were presented, and the administration would like to recommend NAI Columbia to serve as the preferred real estate company for listing district properties for sale, and as the buyer agent when the district chooses to solicit the assistance of a real estate firm. And this doesn't tie us into the requirement of having to use an agent, but at least if we want one, there will be one better than two.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation as NAI to serve as the preferred real estate company for the district for the selling of property, and if the district chooses to solicit the assistance of a real estate company.
A motion, do I have a second? Second. We have a second. Any discussion?
Something I think that you said was not binding, I think that needs to be reflected in the minutes. If you would, please. That's that we're not binded by that, just so that
Yeah, the
down the road.
recommendation was if we choose.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And it's typically what we do is a one-year contract that can be renewed for up to 5 years, with the possibility of the board extending that for an additional 2 years.
Is there a fee that's going to be charged for that?
Well, there will be a fee associated with the selling or purchasing.
Yes,
that
but not
property.
just that available.
No, no.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consideration of the sound system at Northside Middle School.
Mr. Chair, this is the Northside Middle School cafeteria, and at one point having the CPIF, we had requested that we purchase a portable stage that would go at Brooke and Casey High School during the time that they didn't have an auditorium, and then it would be moved over to Northside whenever we finished up at Brooke and Casey. Both schools decided that they did not want portable stage, that they felt that they could do what they needed to do in their facilities or go to one of the facilities closer to them to be able to have production or whatever that they might want to use. But we did decide that we wanted a sound system installed as well as a projector and screen at Northside, and the thing that we have left is to put in a sound system in the cafeteria. So we recommend that we award the contract to Gaddis Pro Audio in the amount of $3,999.59.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation and award the contract to Gaddis Pro Audio in the amount of $3,999.59 for the sound system at Northside Middle School.
Okay, we have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Key. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next is update on Walter Street closing.
Members of the board, Mr. Chairman, and Dr. James. My name is Hood Dawson. I'm here on behalf of Jake Wolf tonight. He unfortunately could not be here. But he has filled me in a little bit on what's going on with this Walterboro Road closing situation. Everything is going smoothly as at this point. There was an easement issue with the city of Casey that has been worked out. That is no longer an issue. We are now waiting on the court to give us a hearing date. Jake has requested an expedited hearing on that. Unfortunately, it is now out of our hands. We can't control when the court actually schedules anything. Could be 30 days, could be 120 days. But we are doing everything we can, and Jake has done everything that he can do in order to get that as quickly as possible.
Okay. So we don't have any action to take on that. Okay. Any questions? Before we move on?
So what court would that be?
It would be in circuit court.
There's no way to prod them?
Excuse me?
There's no other way to prod them?
Not anything that we haven't done already.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is consideration of selling of furniture at Taylor, Pineview, and Perry.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we still have some furniture left in those facilities, and obviously, we're not running the HVAC like we were when we were occupying those facilities. So we would like to offer those the furniture items up for public purchase before it becomes molded or mildewed or anything like that, like we had at the old Randy facility. We all know that if we leave that HVAC equipment off very long, it does tend to get in that condition. We have had several folks express an interest. As you know, we've allowed Wilson to come and get some of the furniture that they needed, and we've had some other governmental agencies to express an interest as well. The National Guard has been using that facility. They've expressed interest, but in order for us to be able to at least put it on the market, we need your approval. And rather than moving it to several locations, we'd like to just sell it once. And what doesn't sell, then we will obviously, when we tear those facilities down, then we'll be able to get rid of it and have a good clear conscience.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation for disposing of this furniture in place, or selling or donating to interested governmental agencies, or selling to interested parties.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Key. Discussion. Ms. Kessler.
A couple of months ago, I spoke with Dr. James about this very concern, because we have some schools that, in our own district, that would like to have some of that equipment, and they were told no, it was going to be trash. Can the schools now be told that that is available to them?
We have basically told our schools that we prefer that they not put this old furniture in there because, again, the HVAC has been off at these facilities for a while. It's not been running like it was while we were occupying it, and we don't want to bring any mold or mildew into these new facilities.
No, we don't want anything, no mushrooms or anything else in those new facilities.
Well, we've purchased new furniture in all of our facilities, and there will be money available for additional purchases in the near future. So we would prefer not to do that.
Okay, but at the same time, there were some military people that used it. Are these the same military people that have requested it now? Or do you need to get reassociated with those people to let them know that you're now going to be selling that?
It is. We have had, I think Ms. Joseph is in here, but I think we've had 3 different inquiries. One from the National Guard and some from, I know at least one other school district that has expressed interest. So we will reach out to those folks and see if they have interest.
Thank you.
Any other questions? One thing I would mention, I know that at one point in time, the Lakeview community had reached out to me about some stuff that maybe had been in the old Randy building, and I don't know whether they got any of that or not. But they were looking for like bookcases and things to display stuff in their museum. So I would at least call Joe English or one of those that work on that Lakeview board to see if, I mean, obviously if they have something, they wouldn't have a lot. They wouldn't need a lot because they don't have a lot of room in their museum, but if there's something there that would assist them, we should probably offer it to them.
We will do that.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consideration of new cameras for the newly enclosed walkways at Airport High School.
Yes, Mr. Chair, as you know, we're finishing up that project, and the administration has requested that we put some cameras in there, and right, so the administration recommends awarding the contract to A3 Communications in the amount of $5,821.91 to install cameras in those closed walkways.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation for awarding the contract to A3 Communications in the amount of $5,821.91 for the new cameras on the new enclosed walkways at Airport High School.
All right, we have a motion of a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Key. Any discussion?
That does include whatever required to integrate back to the, wherever these report back to the cameras, their mainframe.
Into the servers? Yes, sir.
Comes back with their, okay, then that price includes, there's nothing else for, or additional for cabling, or that's everything?
Yeah, that's it.
It's, okay.
Any other questions? All right, being none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consideration of additional access control at Congaree Elementary School.
Mr. Chair, as you know, we have a new administrative team at Congaree, and one of the first things they encountered from the teachers were requests to have an additional doorway that had access for them to come in from the playground. So we have gone out and looked, and we will agree to put in one more access control location on one of the exterior doors. So we'd like to recommend that we award that contract to A3 Communications in the amount of $3,433.19.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation awarding the contract to A3 Communications in the amount of $3,433.19 for the additional access control at Congaree Elementary.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Key. Any discussion? This is just on the playground side?
Yes, sir.
It's just one more door, is that
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
I know we had a question that came up about teachers accessing.
Accessing the doors that are facing the road, and one of the things that in our safety plan was that we would send everybody through those doors that have the identification cards rather than just being able to go in and out from the street. So when Don had his safety coach changing locks and putting in access panels, but just going out of the classroom out onto the street, they're having to actually go back into the building, and that's a safety issue because we moved to that. So if you had like the Townville thing where someone was outside with a key, that whoever took the key couldn't get back in the building. So that's the reason for that. It's less convenient than having a door in your classroom, but when you look at the safety aspect of it, it's infinitely safer.
So they can't access it.
They can get in, yes, and the system that Don has had put in, the swipe cards that are the different schools can have different levels of access, different time frames. So if you had a teacher that wanted to be there a little later, all they need to do is talk with the principal and they can work those kinds of things out.
Yeah, I think the concern maybe was some of them have pets maybe in classrooms.
I think
They leave over the weekend, they need to get in there and feed them, or.
The administration has the ability to override the system to give anyone access that they want to on any day they want to give. What we did not want was we did not want to have to go into a lockdown and then someone be able to apprehend the teacher out on the playground that has a key. And now we've ruined, all that money we spent was for nothing because they can come right in anyway. So I know it's a little more inconvenient, but the teachers can still gain access if the administration wants to give them access.
They just have to have their card.
They have to have a card, and we know who came in because the administration can run a report and see who came in and at what time. So it's all about safety.
Okay. Got no issues with that.
I have a question. Do all of our schools now have that same access?
We're still working on the 2 high schools.
Do we have a time frame that would take to get those completed?
Well, obviously, we had hoped it would be in place before school started this year, but that didn't take place. We've had to put up some fencing, and part of this is we had to enclose these walkways at the airport. We now have the fencing up at Brook and Casey, and I think in our monthly report, Mr. Cooper, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we say in there that they're working on some of the last doors at Brook and Casey. But we've still got a few things to do at airport.
Along those lines, have you addressed some of the skeleton crews that they have working now? Some of the work at several locations is going extremely slow, and when you look around, there's very few people working. And that sort of stretches out the project, so I thought this would be done in one time.
You're talking about specifically access control?
No, not specifically, but yes, it's included.
Okay. Well, almost all of our projects are finished with the exception of the punch list items. And yes, ma'am, we've had some issues in trying to get some of them back to work on some punch list items. And I can assure you that they don't like to see Mr. Cooper caught.
That's not unique to Lexington too either. I can tell you.
No, that's not. Everybody's covered up.
Every day.
That was the gap.
Okay, the question, I'm trying to think of a question. Well, we'll just move on. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next is the consideration of pressure washing in Brook and Casey High School. State.
Yes, Mr. Chair, our maintenance folks have been working hard to try to gradually wash all of our facilities on the exterior. And now we're going to do the stadium at Brook and Casey. And we'd like to ask that you award this contract to Palmetto Pressure Clean. Palmetto Pressure Clean in the amount of $7,900.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation to award the contract to Palmetto Pressure Clean in the amount of $7,900 as presented for the pressure washing at Brooklyn Casey High School Stadium.
We have a motion, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Keith. Any discussion?
Just all the brick surface, what?
Bill?
It'll be the aluminum seating, along with sidewalks all around through there, and some of the white cap brick on top of the walls.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Has this company, Palmetto Pressure Cleaning, have they done a stadium like this before? Or
They
are
actu-
familiar with?
Earlier in the year they did. I'm sorry for interrupting. Earlier in the year they did Airport High School Stadium for us. So
Everyone was pleased with that work?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, they've done several jobs for us around the district. So thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I thought about the question I had on the access control. Is this tied in, the access control, is it tied in so that if teachers or students prop the doors open, that it alerts back that they didn't let the door close?
It has that capability, but we have not installed that. Because a lot of times you get faulty reports and alarms, and we, at this point in time, have chosen not to do that. But we could if we wanted
It would require them to go back out and wire up more contacts and that kind of
to.
thing?
I think it's just in the programming, for the most part.
I thought, we did have that incorporated.
We don't have access controls on all of our exterior doors, so it, we can start thinking about the fact that, what would keep them from popping up one that's doesn't have this on it. So I don't know that we would gain any advantage by doing it. That's one of the reasons we chose not to spend money to do that.
But it would force someone then to go investigate, correct?
If it was on one of those doors rather than a door that doesn't have access control. The majority of our doors don't have access control on them. So they can very easily prop the door up, open that's one hallway over, and nobody would ever know anything about it anyway. You'd have to spend millions of dollars probably to put a system in that would prevent that.
On all doors.
On all of your exterior doors.
Hopefully, the educating of the staff is going to be more important than the system itself, because of the time that we're in. I think most people realize that it's a very real threat out there constantly, and the things that we used to do and the way that we used to do, it's not for this time frame, even with the ability to put those alarms on doors.
We've tried to do the doors that make it convenient enough for them not to want to do that as far as teachers are concerned. And I think our administration has done a good job of making our teachers aware of the fact that they don't need to be doing that type of thing anymore. Just like Dr. James says, and I think that I haven't seen the door propped open in a long time now. Some of the administrators may catch me afterwards and tell me that they're still fighting that battle. And I have seen some wedges, and I've told them to get rid of those wedges. And I think for the most part, they've been doing it.
Yeah, and there's one thing, the access control is so you can get in and out of the car. But then monitoring the door, whether it's open or not, is just a contact. It's not, it costs $3,000, $4,000 a door to access control. But just to put a set of contacts to let you know that somebody's left the door open doesn't cost that kind of money. The point's going to go to, if we're protecting the campus, we've gone to a lot of pains to say, okay, it's going to lock down and all that, but if people leave doors propped open, it won't do us a dime worth of good if they do that.
I understand. And like I say, I think we've educated them well enough to know that they shouldn't be doing that. And we've made the doors convenient for them to come through. So if the board wants to do it, we'll look at it. But you're looking at, I think, a good bit of money.
Like you said, it would just be a switch.
It should just be switches tied together that it can let that work for over a few many seconds. It's going to get it on.
It would be a switch, and you had to have an addressable unit. You had to have it wired all daisy chained back to a computer that could look at those, poll them, check them out. So it is, like Don says, it becomes quite a bit more than just a switch.
It is. I've been to a number of conferences before where with these wireless technologies and IP addresses, they do it for everything. They're monitoring air conditioning units on you know, when it's running, when it's not, or how the bearings are doing, or whatever, and all that information is transmitted back wirelessly to the system and tied in. It just seems to me like there would be a way to just monitor whether the door's been left open or not. It doesn't cost $3,000 or $4,000 a door, but it would help secure the campus. I guess I would just ask that we look at it and see what can be done. Because I think that's just as important as you controlling the doors. We've got to make sure that they stay locked.
We will do it.
All right, consideration of replacing ROTC practice pad and storm drainage issues along Eagle Drive.
Mr. Chair, we obviously have a good ROTC program at Airport High School, and through this construction of the closing these walkways, there was some damage done to a pad that was, I think, the military installed several years ago, and we've learned that the foundation under that was just dirt. So when you run, and there have been cars parking on that pad during athletic events for years, and through the years it has just deteriorated to the point where that we'd like to look at replacing that. And we'd like to do it with concrete and with some reinforcement in it. So we would like to do that. We would also like to do some cleaning up of storm drain issues around the campus at Airport, that loop road. We'd also like to fix some erosion issues that have occurred between Fulmer and Airport. There's a Type 9 box that for years has just been washed in, and it doesn't even take on any water anymore because the lid has just fallen in and silt has filled in where that it doesn't work properly. So all told, we'd like to ask that you award contract construction in the amount of $45,570 to replace the pad, fix the erosion issues in the Type 9 box, and also clean up some storm drain issues around the loop road. $45,570 to contract construction.
What portion of that will they pay for the damage that they caused?
They're paying $9,000 of the.
So we're still paying the 45 or minus the 9?
What we're doing is the $26,300 for the ROTC pad. We can either subtract the $9,000 from that, which I prefer not to do, and just leave that $9,000 that they're going to pay in contingency. Because we still got a few things that we may need to do at Airport before we finish up. We're running out of contingency. As you know, we moved up $150,000 from Fulmer over to Airport, just so we would have enough money to finish up some of the things that we've already.
What is the percentage that you think that contract should be?
I think what they're.
You think that's fair?
Yeah,
Because it seems like it's more like half of that pad.
Well, some of it was obviously damaged before contract ever got there because of the fact that it's been parked up for years.
Thank you.
That storm drain needs to be lowered. I mean, there's several issues there.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation to award the contract to contract construction in the amount of $45,570 to replace the ROTC practice pad and address the storm drainage issues along Eagle Drive.
A motion and a second. Second by Mr. King. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is painting front office area of the Community Education Center.
Mr. Chair, as you know, the Community Education Center moved to the BC Grammar #1, and we've slowly been trying to fix that facility up as well. and they would like to paint their front office area. And we've solicited quotes to do that work. And we would like to award the contract to Home Style Painting LLC. Home Style Painting LLC in the amount of $3,600 to paint the front office area. $3,600.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation to award the contract to perform the work at the front office area of the Community Education Center to Home Style Painting LLC in the amount of $3,600.
I have a motion and a second.
Now, second.
Second by Mr. Keith. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next up, we move to consideration of request for overnight and out-of-state student travel.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation for the approval of student travel request on 2, 3, and 4, and ratify request number 1.
Okay, we got 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Is it 5?
It's 2, 3, 4, 5, and ratify 1.
I don't have a 5. Okay. So 1 is different on 2. Okay. I'll restate that. Make a motion that we approve the student travel request as recommended by the administration on 2, 3, 4, and 5, and ratify number 1.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Second by Mr. Keith. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Now we move to administrative divisional reports. Dr. James.
Yes, sir. We've placed in your packet some sample calendars. We have a sample for the 2020-21 school year and for the 21-22 school year. We're trying to get this year's calendar set as early as possible. The most important thing for us is the start and end dates. And the rationale behind this is we have a history of our calendars a little later start. We get it in power school later. The high schools start the schedule later. Ultimately, we had both high schools this past year that had kids sitting in auditoriums and that sort of thing, waiting to get their schedules all verified. So if we can get the calendar approved earlier, we put the start dates, end dates in power schools, they can begin taking course requests, get that set. We would like to be able to look at power school in a 2-year time frame. There are 2 calendars for each school year. We're giving you this for information tonight. Once we'll come back in January, we will have sent these out. We'll ask the board, obviously, to approve 2 years, but you ultimately have the option that you could approve 1 and then wait. But the emphasis is primarily on the high school schedule and making sure that kids have a schedule and the schedule is set. And some of the inconsistencies that we've had in the schedules are there's time to go through and look at those individually rather than trying to do that in July and the beginning of August. I'd ask the board to review those. If you have any questions about them, we can answer those. As always, some are better than others, but we put the same basic holidays in. We're still required 180 days, 10 days for teacher work days and in service. We try to get the 9 weeks to as close to 45 days as humanly possible. We'd like to start as early as we can, but the state law is still not before the 3rd Monday in August, so we have to contend with that. This year's a little bit better. and then we're required to have 3 weather makeup days. Those days are good for us because, as you're well aware, we're an e-learning district, and we got a visit from the folks who monitor the e-learning program, and they were extremely complimentary. As a matter of fact, they had planned to use Berkeley as their video model and decided that they would not go to Berkeley because Lexington 2 did so well on their first attempt. So that's a shout out to our teachers and administrators. Well, anyway, I'll entertain any questions about the calendar that you have, and just ask that you kind of look at it at your leisure, and then we're going to send it out to the faculty.
All right, next is instructional update. Brooks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm excited to have an opportunity to sort of give you an overview. This by no means is everything that's been going on, but as Dr. James mentioned earlier, we have heard loud and clear that we need to improve our focus on instruction and our student results. And I can tell you that my belief for as long as I have been doing this is, even though we allow our kids to have redos and second chances and those kind of things, we can't afford as instructional folks to not give our kids the very best every day. We can't afford, teachers can't afford to have to do redos in their instruction. And so I do want you to know that. And so we realized that we needed to do some things differently. And so that's exactly what we're trying to do, is to sort of streamline some of our processes that we've had in place, make some changes. Ultimately, you have heard, many of you have, the professional learning communities. All that really means is that we work as professionals together to do planning of instruction, figuring out solutions, and helping our kids get better with where they're struggling. We use 4 questions related to the PLC process, just as a reminder of those. What do we want our students to know? How do we know if they learned it or they know it? What do we do when they don't learn it or know it? And then what do we do if they do? For those of you in the business world, that translates into the first question, what we want students to know is that business model and the marketing plan, if you will. The second question is all about quality controls and sampling, knowing that your processes are working. The third one is evaluating those processes, and when you have something that's not working, figuring out how you're going to fix it and then fixing it. And then fourth is when you have something that's working, expanding that market footprint. So that's really how those 4 questions play out in the business versus what we're trying to accomplish in education. And so last year, just as a reminder, and again, these are not all inclusive, but Dr. James put in place the 4 tenets, which is teacher and student attendance, discipline, and observations, because we believe that if our teachers and students come to school and they're well behaved in the classroom, then we have an opportunity to teach them and for them to learn. And then obviously the observations are about our administrators knowing what's going on in the classrooms. It's our students seeing administrators and being able to, for students to recognize that they are adults that are invested in them as well, in behavior as well as their academics in class. As Dr. James alluded to earlier, Morgan built this student dashboard for us last year toward the end of the year, which really helps our high schools in tracking our grad rate pieces, but it does also go into middle school and elementary school as well, so that we can look at SC state testing results, if you will, EOC, all those kind of things, so that it helps us monitor students along the way so we can do something about it when we have problems. You also are aware that we worked with our teachers in our 2 high schools last year to come up with a flexible schedule so that we could really try and make our Innovation Center the hub of education in our district. And so we work really hard on that. I'm proud of it. We also last year took our 2 schools, 1 goal that you might be familiar with, and we expanded that into all 4 middle schools where they work on common assessments so that we could monitor the progress in English and math in particular. And we also included last year our English 1 teachers and Algebra 1 teachers from the high schools, which gave us an opportunity to start those conversations. Moving into this year, we put it into several different categories. The first one is professional development. Power school training, and this gets into being able to do exactly, to be able to improve education and track what's happening. We had national trainers come in with us last year. We really, I think it was 5 days that they provided scheduling, training, learning how to do that in Power School. Casey, as well as others, have provided a lot of training on coding, making sure we're getting all of the funding that we possibly can, and all of that is getting entered correctly, and attendance. And we've come quite a long way, and as attendance laws changed a few years ago with chronic absenteeism, we had some work to do, and we're getting much better at that, and quite honestly, we still have some work to do. We also revamped this year our district cohorts to really make sure that we had focused cohorts. Our cohorts are our early release days. Our teachers meet together for professional development. And we had gotten away from some of the collaborative pieces. We involved our administrators, especially in elementary school, brought them together. Y'all mentioned about ESOL. We now have, versus ESOL teachers having their own cohort group, they now meet with our English and math teachers with the hope that they can share strategies amongst each other. So we've tried to be strategic, and we've done that in middle school and high school as well. We provided training in July. We brought all of our schools in. They could bring up to 10 people, and we covered this multi-tiered systems of support or response to intervention. All that simply means in layman's terms is having systems and processes in place so that when a kid is struggling either academically, behaviorally, all those kind of things, we have systems in place where we don't wait until it's too late to address whatever it is. And so that is the response to intervention in MTSS program. And that is a big thing. That is not easy to do. There's no way to make all that happen in 1 year. It's really hard to make it happen in 4 years, quite honestly. You sort of have to bite off a piece at a time. And so I really do feel like we're making some progress, but that is a big deal. E-learning, obviously, we did have folks come in yesterday to talk to us about our e-learning and how that went, and then went out to a school. We have learned a lot from doing that, and I think it was a very good process for our teachers. As far as schedule changes that happened this year, you're aware that we moved the early college dual enrollment program over to L2IC. We also have added advanced placement courses there. I've listed some sampling there. And we also added core content classes, and so I've added a couple of those too. The high school folks in here and Johnny and Bernie will tell you that was not an easy feat to do, and the guidance counselor will tell you it wasn't either. But I really do think that that gives us a unique opportunity to get kids getting those certifications in paid classes and being able to participate in not just our career and technology, but also AP and dual enrollment. And then the other thing that I'm proud of is that all of our bell schedules this year, elementary through high school, we have intervention time built in to the daily schedule. And that goes back to that RTI process, because many of our kids ride buses. And so that means that they can't come before school to get help. They can't come after school to get help. And so this gives us an opportunity during our regular school day to be able to provide that help that they need in order to help them grow academically. And then the progress monitoring piece, that really is about the accountability piece, if you will, and making sure you have a way to find out if what you're doing is working. This year we took the common assessments from the middle schools in Algebra 1 and English 1, And we've added that in our elementary schools, grade 3 through 8 in English and math. And the next thing, coaching conversations with teachers. All that means is once we have given those common assessments, we've brought those teachers together. And we've had conversations about the results, but not just the results, but what strategies have worked and which strategies have not. Because if we don't talk about the things that are working, then we can't replicate them in other schools. And so elementaries was this past Monday. There were 3 different schools, sites that we did those paired together. And I think if you ask administrators and teachers, there really were some powerful conversations that come out of that. And we've also done that with middle school teachers as well as English 1 and out. We have revamped our principal and AP meetings this year. I alluded to this at the last time we met. Some of them told me I've created more stress for them than I have. But this year we have asked them to bring samples of the different parts of the RTI process that I talked about earlier, the essential learning pieces, what do we expect kids to know, some of the results, how do we know, and what are the results showing they've learned and what they haven't, and then their next steps. What are they doing in that intervention plan and process? How are they helping and targeting kids? With the assistant principals in their cohort, we meet with them and just go through, really what I'm trying to do is to coach them up in all of those aspects so that they can become principals if that's what their interest is. And so there's somebody else in our school that can help us. We also have changed the snapshots this year. We're calling Instructional Snapshots 2.0. It used to be that we would pull in teachers and administrators and we would spread out and go into schools on 2 different days, come back together and have conversations about that. This year what we decided to do was to try and make sure we had a better handle on what was happening in schools. As the instructional team here at district office goes out into the schools, and we're doing that on Thursdays. We go to 2 schools each Thursday, and we will end up right before Christmas in all of our schools. We have provided to the schools a list of 40 items that are from our non-negotiables. They're from our RTI process. They're just things, attendance, coding, all of those things. We really mentor plans. We really try and get a good comprehensive look at what's happening at the school. On Thursdays, we did that today. We were at Northside and Riverbank today. So our team comes back together after those visits. We spend about 3.5 hours talking about our visits. We put together strengths and weaknesses from that. There's a few of us that then go back to the school to talk to the administrators and deliver those results, if you will, and talk to them about that. I provide a PDF that they can then share with their teachers if they so choose. And then it gives us an opportunity to answer questions and really have some conversation about real things that are going on. And then the other thing that high school principals have been asked recently is, at Dr. James' request, Morgan provided them a spreadsheet that has all of those graduation criteria on there. And so they have been asked to provide us before Thanksgiving that plan that Dr. James was talking about, looking at which kids have met a target, whether it's college and career, whether it's dual enrollment, whatever. And for those that have not, what is the plan to try and get them either college or career ready, or enough credits, or attendance, whatever their issue might be. Our next steps, just so that you know that we are trying to continue to get better. We know that our ESOL population is growing. One of the recent ideas that has come up is trying to find somebody in the school that we can try and train that's not tied to kids. An example that has come up is our CDFs in high schools, for example. They don't have kids necessarily assigned to them, but trying to get them some training in conversational Spanish, for example, so that they can work with kids, families, and help us. Because we know as our ESOL population continues to grow, we have got to find additional ways to help and support our kids and families. which moves into the second one, implement a district-wide Esl Curriculum. We don't have a consistent one right now in all of our schools, and that is something that Jennifer Wise is working on with the help of other districts, and trying to make sure when we pick something that it is something that we know is research-based and tried and true. We also are looking and having conversations, the two high school principals and Dr. James and I, we talked about scheduling the classes this past week for next year and even this coming semester. And trying to make sure we provided that flexible schedule where we have skinnies, if you will, where we can run classes 45 minutes all year. We can run some AP. We're doing that in some AP classes, for example. Or we can run 90-minute semester blocks. So we have a lot of flexibility, and we need to make sure that we are strategically scheduling those courses. And so those are conversations we continue having. We are also having conversations and working to improve our elementary coaches. We also are looking to hire secondary curriculum coaches, but I have told our coaches, and I honestly believe this, that yes, administrators are important. They set the philosophy and cultural a lot of times in the building, but it is those instructional coaches that have the opportunity to touch our teachers every day and therefore impact what's happening with our kids. And so we want to make sure that we're preparing them the best that we can. With our curriculum coaches, we're going to begin looking again to try and find folks who can help us in middle school and in high school, because they are critical. You remember that we didn't move forward with those just based on the time. We do have some in-house people that we have interest in. We have some that are outside, but with the shortage of teachers, we certainly didn't want to pull our teachers out of classrooms, and we didn't feel like, quite honestly, that some of the other districts would release others. And so that is something that we are going to be very strategic about as we move forward. And then the last thing is going back and following up with our MTSS process, our interventions for kids, because quite honestly, what I have told administrators is that, the yearly growth that we get on our school report card, that basically comes from good instruction every single day. The growth piece comes from intervention a lot of times, because that happens outside of the normal growth. That's the part where we really have to be able to identify where kids are struggling and where they have gaps and to fill them. And so it really takes that whole entire system, if you will, in order for kids to perform. So that's sort of what we've been doing and where we're headed. That's certainly not all of it. We have standards-based report cards, all those kind of things, but I felt like this might give you some idea of what we were trying to accomplish and where we were headed.
Any questions or comments? That's a lot of information. Very good information, and I don't want to ask. I don't have a specific question other than to say when we do. Will this be an item for a work session? Chairman?
Yeah, we will, a lot of this will be items for work sessions. For instance, when Dixon talks about the Spanish-speaking pros, our overall goal is the fact that we'll be able to offer a class after the first of the year for at least one individual adult out of every school to train them in conversational Spanish. We don't necessarily care about their grammar and all of the pieces that maybe a 101, 201 course at a university would be, but more able to communicate with the kids and the parents. And then hopefully build on that as that group moves on, move on to the others. So all of those things that he's put there, we have tons of information. For as much information as that looks like, there's that much more on each one of those things, and those are the kind of things that we'll talk to you as to where we would like to see the district move academically in the future.
Any other questions?
their point. All right, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which would be the monthly financial. What do you have?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. James, you have before you the revenue summary as of the end of October. I can tell you, since this report was written, we got the information on the tax receipts that added another $1 million, $11 million in revenue, making our total revenues through October 31st of $16,888,560. So gives a little bit extra. Yeah, if anyone have any questions on this report? Next report will be our expenditure report through October 31st. Through that date, we had spent $22,278,455, still on par with where we were last year, based on the teacher salary increases that we incurred. So everything still should be pretty proportional based on the increases that we put in place for this year. Next report you have would be your people activity funds for October 31st. At school. And the final report would be the capital project commitments. Still leaving $3.7 million uncommitted. We probably are going to be looking at these numbers even more carefully as we go through. Don and I met last week looking over some information. We'll continue to meet through the month of December to ensure if there are any projects that are going to have extra funds available, or if there are any projects that are going to need additional funds. You may see some shifting by the January report.
Okay. Any questions? Well, the monthly financial reports are still approved as presented. Let's move to construction update.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have in your packet the construction update for all of the projects that we have going on. I will give a shout out to contract construction. Last meeting, we asked that you move $150,000 of contingency from Fulmer over to the hospital. And we felt like we were going to be able to leave probably about $50,000 at Fulmer to do some additional things if they were to arise. But what we have learned through the good management of that company and that project, the contingency is going to be about $270,000. Which means that we will still have, after we move 150 over to airport, somewhere in the neighborhood of $120,000. And some of you have expressed some interest in doing some additional paving there. Unfortunately, there are some things underneath the surface with compromised storm drainage piping that I think has not been properly sealed. There will be some monies that will have to be spent under the road that will eat up a lot of that money, but we've already gotten quotes to do some paving, and we have enough money to do paving. I'm just not sure that we're going to have enough money to do all the work that needs to be done underneath. So I think what would be wise for us would be to focus more on getting those storm drains fixed like they should be to eliminate sinkholes and that sort of thing in the asphalt, especially between the old tennis courts and the playing field. But regardless, we'll be bringing you a plan sometime in the near future for what we want to try to address there, and we'll do as much as we can. So with that, I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
Yes. Is there a glare issue with the signage that's been erected at Airport High School for 302?
Softball.
Yes.
We have heard that from one of the other board members, and if you remember, we've looked at putting a sign on the back of a couple of those scoreboards, and I think that that one probably is going to be the most visible one, so it would make sense that that would be one of the welcome to Airport High School signs that the board had requested we look at doing. Have you started that yet?
Yeah, with the approval of digital signs, y'all approved signs going in the back of the baseball and softball board saying something to welcome the airport Eagles or something like that. So that is in works. They have the signs up, powered up. We haven't tested them yet. The frames are they're being made. So
Is there a glare problem?
Yes.
That exists now?
Yes. And that will have a sign.
So the sign is
On the
going to
back.
cover the glare problem?
yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You come back. And that'll be what but it'll be visible from 302, that, okay. But it will include Lexington too, if it has that.
It can include whatever you want us to put on, and if you put too much on it, you can't read it.
I understand.
Can I ask another question about Wood Elementary? Is that HVAC system up and functioning properly?
Yes, ma'am, completely.
No
No.
glitches?
No glitches.
And what the time factor that I was talking about earlier, addressed earlier, is the issue with Grandview. That is just slow going there, and it's been an eyesore for that community for a very long time.
It'll be resolved before too long, though, and it'll be nice.
Heard that a couple of months ago.
Any other questions? All right, let's move on to executive session.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the Board of Trustees enter closed session for the following: consideration of personnel appointments and resignations, consideration of new student exposure, discussion of property matters,
Are they?
All those in favor say aye. Executive session.